Thanksgiving night, Allegheny County Police found Taylor's body in a tote bag found under wet and dry concrete.
And we're talking about Adrianna Taylor. She was reported missing just over 2 weeks ago. Her remains were discovered on Thanksgiving Day.
In the late hours of November 24th, 2022, a woman's body was found in a tote bag at the backyard of a home in Wilkinsburg, Pennsylvania. When police officers arrived at the scene, they were able to identify the body as that of 29-year-old Adrianna Taylor, buried and showing signs of having been shot in the head. Earlier on, Adriana was declared missing by her family members, and now with her death confirmed, all fingers pointed to one person. But the reason this woman was killed is so shocking. Adrianna Carey Taylor was born on March 3, 1999, in Marysville, Ohio, to Anya Carey Perry and Cedric Taylor. She was educated in Cleveland and had a strong commitment to her studies. While specific details about her educational background are limited, it is known that she completed her schooling in the Cleveland area and then got a job like everyone wishes to get. Adriana worked at a local retail store, where she was recognized for her friendly demeanor and work ethic. Her colleagues described her as a hard-working individual who enjoyed interacting with customers. Adriana's career path reflected her aspirations and dedication to building a stable future. Adriana was living an independent life, balancing work and spending time with friends and family. Her vibrant routine naturally drew people to her, new friends, admirers, and even potential suitors. Among them was one man who seemed like a dream come true. But what Adriana didn't know was that this man wasn't a blessing. He was a mistake, one so devastating it would cost her everything. A mistake she wouldn't live to regret. Adriana was working her shift at a local retail store in Cleveland when she first met Anthony Kennedy. It was a bustling Saturday afternoon, and the store was filled with customers. Adriana, known for her warm smile and friendly demeanor, was busy assisting a group of shoppers when she noticed a tall man browsing the electronics department. He seemed out of place, his eyes scanning the shelves with a mix of curiosity and confusion. As fate would have it, Anthony approached Adriana for help finding a specific item. Their conversation began casually, but there was an undeniable spark between them. Despite the 20-year age difference, Adriana being just 23 and Anthony in his early 40s, they found themselves drawn to each other in a way neither had anticipated. Over the next few weeks, their interactions became more frequent. Anthony would come into the store often, sometimes just to see Adriana. They shared laughter over inside jokes and exchanged stories about their lives. Adriana's dreams of traveling and pursuing her passions, and Anthony's experience that shaped him into the man he was today. This was where feelings began to go out of control. What started as innocent flirtation quickly blossomed into something deeper. They began meeting outside of work, enjoying coffee dates and long walks in the park. Adriana appreciated Anthony's mature perspective on life, while he admired her youthful spirit and ambition. Their connection felt natural, as if they had known each other for years. And soon enough, Adriana lost it all. Adriana found herself falling for Anthony in ways she had never imagined possible. He brought stability and warmth into her life, qualities she had been searching for amidst the chaos of young adulthood. For Anthony, Adriana represented a fresh start, a chance to rediscover joy and love. And then, the couple felt it was time to take a huge step. They decided to take a significant step together. Moving in, they found a cozy duplex in Cleveland where they would build their lives together. However, this didn't come easy. Living together brought its own set of challenges, but they faced them hand in hand. They created a home filled with laughter, late-night conversations, and shared dreams for the future. Adriana felt secure with Anthony by her side, believing that their love could withstand any obstacle. But then, in an instant, everything changed. As time went on, subtle changes began to surface in their relationship. Friends noticed Adriana's growing concerns about Anthony's behavior, moments of anger that seemed out of character for the man she had fallen in love with. Their love story took a devastating turn when Adriana went missing in November. The future they had envisioned together was abruptly shattered, leaving behind unanswered questions and heartache for those who loved her. Adriana's family had always been close-knit, sharing laughter and support through life's ups and downs. But as the days turned into weeks without hearing from Adriana, a heavy cloud of worry settled over them. It was November 13th, 2022, when her aunt and cousin made the heart-wrenching decision to report her missing. They had tried everything, calling her phone, reaching out to friends, but each unanswered call deepened their anxiety. The police took the report seriously, launching an investigation that would soon reveal something troubling. Days passed with no leads, and the family felt helpless. They plastered flyers around town. Each day without news felt like an eternity, and whispers of concern grew louder among friends and family. They gathered in prayer circles, hoping for a miracle while trying to cope with an unsettling feeling that something was terribly wrong. Meanwhile, in the shadows of Cleveland, Anthony was coping with his own demons. As investigators began to look into his background, they uncovered a history of troubling behavior. Friends of Adriana began to voice their concerns about his temper and possessiveness. The family's worries intensified as they learned more about the man who had become such a significant part of Adriana's life. But due to the fact that nothing was confirmed yet, no arrests were made. But that was soon about to change, as a very settling discovery was about to be made worse still, in the most unlikely way ever. It was Thanksgiving night, November 24th, 2022. A neighbor in Wilkinsburg was carrying on with their usual routine when their doorbell camera captured something bizarre, something they couldn't explain. It was Anthony stepping out of his car and going out to grab some type of bag in which bodies are known to be put in from a trunk, after which he heads to the back of the house while looking around in a suspicious manner. Disturbed by the scene, the neighbor called for police intervention immediately. 2 hours later, at around 8 p.m., Wilkinsburg police officers were at the scene in their numbers to investigate. The organized response was due to the fact that they already had their suspicions about Anthony, and there was no progress whatsoever on the missing Adriana. While they'd hoped their suspicions to be wrong, they found something very disturbing. As they began their search, the officers meticulously combed through the backyard, where they suspected something sinister had occurred. It was around 8:45 p.m. when law enforcement started to gather evidence, moving in and out of the house for over 2 hours. The atmosphere was heavy with anticipation and dread, as family and friends waited anxiously for any news about Adriana. But little did they know that their hearts were about to be shattered. The breakthrough came when investigators discovered a large construction bag buried beneath layers of wet and dry concrete. As they carefully excavated the area, their hearts raced with the possibility of what they might find. Inside the construction bag, they uncovered a smaller tote bag that contained Adriana's lifeless body. The sight was horrific. The medical examiner later confirmed that Adriana had died from a gunshot wound to the head, ruling her death a homicide. The details were chilling. She had been buried in such a way that it suggested an attempt to conceal her fate. And with that being established, the officers had one task left. In the days following the discovery of Adriana's body, authorities intensified their search for Anthony. He was considered armed and dangerous, prompting local law enforcement and the FBI to issue alerts for his capture. The manhunt garnered significant media attention as investigators worked tirelessly to locate him. The U.S. Marshals Service announced a reward of up to $10,000 for information leading to his arrest.
Last half hour, we received this flyer from Cleveland Police. Crime Stoppers now offering up to $5,000 for information leading to his arrest.
This bounty not only underscored the urgency of the situation, but also aimed to encourage anyone with knowledge of Anthony's whereabouts to come forward. The announcement of the bounty gained significant media attention, amplifying the search for Anthony across multiple platforms. The public was urged to remain vigilant and report any sightings or tips regarding his location. The emotional weight of Adriana's tragic story resonated with many, leading to increased community involvement in the search efforts. Finally, on November 30th, 2022, just days after the bounty was announced and following extensive media coverage, Anthony turned himself in at the Allegheny County Police Department in Pittsburgh.
3-year-old Anthony Kennedy turning himself in to police 2 days after a warrant was issued for his arrest. The same day, investigators in Cleveland raided a home in search of him. Walking alongside Kennedy today, his attorney, Blaine Jones.
His decision to surrender came after days of being on the run and under intense scrutiny from law enforcement and the public alike. Anthony was taken into custody without incident and subsequently charged with aggravated murder. The legal proceedings began as he awaited extradition back to Ohio for arraignment. The bounty had served its purpose, drawing attention to the case and ultimately leading to his capture. As Adriana's family mourned their loss and sought justice, they remained hopeful that the legal system would hold Anthony accountable for his alleged actions. The courtroom became a place where their grief transformed into determination as they fought for justice in memory of Adriana, a vibrant young woman whose life had been tragically cut short. Anthony was sentenced to life in prison for the murder of Adriana. The sentencing took place on December 19, 2023, following a trial that revealed the harrowing details of Adriana's death and the events leading up to it. Throughout the investigation and trial, there was a palpable sense of anger towards Anthony, especially as more details emerged about his behavior during their relationship. Many in the community had concerns about Anthony prior to Adriana's death, but felt powerless to intervene. This sentiment was echoed by friends who expressed regret for not speaking up sooner about their worries regarding her safety. Community reactions included vigils held in Adriana's memory, where friends and family gathered to honor her life and call for justice. The outpouring of support demonstrated how deeply her loss affected those around her. Many hoped that the outcome of the trial would serve as a warning about domestic violence and encourage others to seek help in similar situations. As the case concluded with Anthony's life sentence, it brought some measure of closure to Adriana's family and friends. However, the emotional scars left by her murder would linger, reminding the community of the importance of vigilance and support for those facing domestic violence. The next case, equally troubling, would bring you to your knees, as it involves a really gruesome and mysterious true crime case involving a killer she met online.
This is freaking unsurreal. Like, I don't know how we were placed in this nightmare by this demon, okay? Demon, and I don't want to go there, but there's no other terminology for individuals that move like this. Sociopaths, psychopaths, like type energy. I don't know what the motive would have been. I don't know how sociopaths and psychopaths think. Like, this is unsurreal, but this is very concerning for the Milwaukee community.
On April 2nd, 2024, the remains of a woman were seen at Warnemont Park, Cudahy, Wisconsin. However, there was something particularly troubling about this discovery. The investigators discovered that the body belonged to 19-year-old Sade Robinson, and she was just killed and dismembered by a man she had only met online. While this was particularly troubling, the most troubling part was yet to be revealed. Investigators would later discover that this was just one of 4 different body parts to be discovered, as the woman was dismembered and scattered across different locations. This is the heartbreaking story of Sade Robinson. Before we begin, we would love to extend our deepest condolences to the family and friends of Sade Robinson, as well as everyone affected by her gruesome murder. This story takes us all the way to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where culture and industry thrive. It also faces challenges with higher than average crime rates. While some neighborhoods are safer, efforts to reduce violent and property crimes continue across the city. It is in this city we find Sade Robinson and her family. Sade was born on May 10, 2004 in Vicksburg, Mississippi, and moved to Milwaukee, Wisconsin before she turned 2 years old. Throughout her childhood, she split her time between Milwaukee and Florida, where her father Carlos Robinson lived. Despite her parents not being married, they worked to co-parent effectively. Sade had a close-knit family and was described as a supportive older sister, known for her initiative and strong work ethic from a young age. Sade graduated from high school a semester early after relocating from Florida back to Milwaukee in late 2019. This early graduation highlighted her dedication and academic capabilities. In fact, she was in her final semester at Milwaukee Area Technical College, pursuing an Associate of Arts degree in criminal justice. She was just a month away from graduating and had aspirations which included her owning her own apartment. She knew she had to work harder than normal in order to achieve that, so she began working 2 jobs at the time. She worked at the Wisconsin Country Club, as well as the Pizza Shuttle, which was located on Milwaukee's east side. At the pizza place, she worked at the counter and was said to be a customer's favorite. Her coworkers loved her also especially because of her dedication and commitment to her job.
She was so independent, self-sufficient. She had her whole life ahead of her. She worked 2 jobs. She was dedicated. She was strong. 2 full-time jobs. The pizza shuttle. She was ranked up to manager. She started working there in the 10th grade, was ongoing, getting promoted, dollar raises every 6 months, till they wanted her to be manager. She worked at the Wisconsin Club, part-time, the Wisconsin Country Club.
This dedication, however, came easily to Sade, who was excited about her future, particularly her ambition to join the U.S. Air Force. Her dedication and work ethic was what made it mysteriously troubling when on April 2, 2024, Sade didn't show up for her usual shift. It was troubling enough to the extent that the manager expressed not being able to recall the last time Sade missed a shift. The coworkers were especially worried and tried their best to reach her, and when they couldn't reach her, they decided to call the police to do a welfare check. But then, some useful information came into light. On April 1st, 2024, which happened to be the previous night, Sade was supposed to be on a date with a man named Maxwell Anderson. She seemed so excited about the date that she even told one of her friends how much she looked forward to it. But her excitement didn't end there. Prior to the meeting with Maxwell, Sade had texted him and told him she felt like taking seafood. So they organized their meeting at a seafood restaurant called Twisted Fisherman. Fun fact is Maxwell had previously worked in this restaurant. The pair had a great time and after having dinner, decided to go over to Duke on Water, which happened to be a Milwaukee bar. While they were there, Sade would send her friend a message on Snapchat, but that message would be the last one ever heard from Sade. However, before anyone discovered Sade was missing, her friend noticed a quite disturbing occurrence. On her Life 360 app, she had discovered Sade's movement and saw that Sade had traveled from the seafood restaurant to a nearby sports bar, after which she went to Maxwell's house. From there, she had traveled to Warnemont Park in Cudahy, Wisconsin. But the discoveries were getting even more troubling. Earlier that morning on April 2nd, Sade's 2020 Honda Civic was discovered and had sustained extreme fire damage, with the interiors completely ruined. What was, however, most unsettling was the fact that police were able to recover from the trunk the outfit Sade had been wearing on the night of her date. They also found her iPhone. This only meant one thing: Sade was either hurt or in grave danger. However, it didn't take long before the first grim discovery was made. A human leg was found at a beach in Warnemont Park, and it appeared to have been cut off at the hip. The discovery was thus examined, and it was discovered to belong to a black woman approximately 5 feet tall, and later, using DNA evidence, they were able to determine that it belonged to Sade. Investigators were now tasked with reviewing the timeline of events surrounding her disappearance. If you'd remember clearly, Sade's phone was pinged by her friend to Maxwell's house, which was located on South 39th Street. A solid discovery was about to validate that. Surveillance footage would show 2 people arriving at home that night, which confirms that Sade was still alive up till that point. At 12:48 a.m., Sade's phone was tracked, leaving Maxwell's house, where it traveled through Milwaukee in the direction of her apartment, but it continued north to Pleasant Valley Park along Milwaukee River, after which it headed to Warnemont Park at 2:45 a.m. At about 2:53 a.m., Sade's car was caught on surveillance heading in the direction of Warnemont Park. 9 minutes later, the camera would capture a male figure descending the bluff down to the beach level. Eyebrows were raised after this discovery, but there was more. After close to an hour and a half, the vehicle leaves Warnemont Park area, after which Maxwell's phone loses battery. And with these being established, the police had one major suspect. On April 4th, 2024, the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Department executed a search warrant at Maxwell's residence located at 3161 South 39th Street in Milwaukee. This marked a critical point in the investigation into the disappearance of Sade, who had been reported missing after her date with Maxwell. As officers entered the home, they were met with a scene that would soon reveal disturbing evidence. The interior was cluttered, with various items strewn about, making it difficult to discern what might be significant. Officers began their methodical search, documenting everything they found. Among the first items discovered was a Crown Royal bag containing an identification card belonging to a 27-year-old woman. This raised immediate questions about Maxwell's connections to other individuals and whether he had been involved in any previous incidents. Nearby, they found a notebook filled with names and information about various women, further deepening the investigation into his past interactions. As they continued their search, officers noticed women's clothing hidden between the support beams of the basement and within the foundation walls. The presence of these items suggested a potential pattern of behavior that investigators needed to explore further. Each piece of clothing was carefully cataloged as evidence. In addition to the clothing and notebook, officers also found bloodstains in several locations throughout the house. Blood was located on bedding in one of the bedrooms and on the walls leading toward the basement. However, preliminary DNA testing indicated that this blood did not match Sade's DNA, raising more questions about whose blood it actually was. These stains were collected for forensic analysis, and investigators began to piece together how they might connect to Sade's disappearance. On April 4th, Anderson was pulled over while driving his 2013 Hyundai Santa Fe. During this traffic stop, detectives observed what appeared to be blood on the front passenger side door speaker. This discovery prompted further investigation into the vehicle, leading to the recovery of several items. Inside the car, investigators discovered several items that raised alarms: a black folding knife, a wood-handled knife or cutting instrument, a bedazzled compact mirror, a black jacket found in the rear passenger seat. These items were collected as potential evidence linking Maxwell to Sade's case. The knives particularly drew attention due to their possible use in dismemberment. Maxwell's case took a new height when a confidential informant revealed he had allegedly planned Sade's murder weeks in advance. Arrested on April 4, 2024, after Sade's dismembered remains were discovered, Maxwell faced damning allegations of premeditation. The informant, a friend of Maxwell's, claimed to have seen a basement room prepared for the crime and heard Maxwell discuss plans to kill Sade, shoot her, and dismember her body. Investigators searching Maxwell's home found significant evidence supporting these claims. A plastic tarp covered a sanitation sink in the basement, and 3 saws were nearby, indicating preparation. If you remember, surveillance footage captured Maxwell and Sade on a date, leaving a bar together the night she disappeared. Witnesses reported seeing a man resembling Maxwell near the location where Sade's burned car was found. On April 5, 2024, Maxwell was charged with first-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, and arson of property other than a building. Further investigation uncovered a notebook in Maxwell's home listing names and information about other women, raising concerns about his past behavior. The prosecution argued this reflected a disturbing pattern, relevant to his actions toward Sade. This story took a more bizarre turn when a different body part seemed to be found. If you remember, on April 2, 2024, a severed leg was discovered in Warnemont Park in Cudahy, Wisconsin, appearing to have been sawn off just below the hip socket. Just a few days later, between April 5th and 6th, Sade's foot, remarkably adorned with pink nail polish, was found near the site where her car was burned in the Milwaukee area. The mystery deepened on April 18th when a passerby uncovered a torso and an arm on a beach along Lake Michigan in South Milwaukee, approximately a quarter mile from an apartment complex. The unsettling sequence continued on May 11th when another arm was discovered at Waukegan Municipal Beach, Illinois, and confirmed through DNA analysis to belong to Sade. Each discovery added layers of intrigue and raised more questions about the circumstances surrounding Sade's disappearance. Court proceedings revealed Maxwell had meticulously planned the murder, even considering how to dispose of Sade's remains across Milwaukee. Despite pleading not guilty and claiming evidence suggested he may not have controlled Sade's vehicle after her disappearance, Maxwell remained in custody on a $5 million bond. A judge ruled on September 14, 2024, that the charges would be tried together. Initially scheduled for December 9, 2024, the trial was delayed to May 27, 2025, to allow the defense more time to review evidence. As preparations continued, the prosecution prepared to present the informant's testimony, physical evidence, and a timeline of Maxwell's actions to demonstrate the crime was deliberate and heinous. The community mourned Sade's tragic fate while closely following the high-profile case. The trial promised to be a battle for justice, with damning revelations of Maxwell's calculated plan at its center. What do you think could have been the motive behind Maxwell's actions toward Sade? What red flags have you noticed in these two stories that you would remind every woman out there to watch out for? Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Here are some other shocking stories we've covered on this channel, and they're even more disturbing than what you just watched. I hope you learned something from them. If you like the way we present these stories, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more content. See you in the next one.